And we have to discuss about the repetitions. UPSC Maths GS paper 1 answer writing. दूसरे ने सुनाते और नौकरी कर नौकरी. The refusal of the Supreme Court of India and to grant legal recognized and to the rorages and between the person of the same sex is viewed and by the many of as the significant legal and setback for the queer communities in the country and comment to 50 words a difficult level moderate. Reference the Hindu insights on and why the questions. In a long awaited judgment of the Supreme Court held and that the sex couples do not have the right and to the marry under the Special Marriage Act. Key demand of the question and to write about the legislations same-sex marriage and in the country and impact of the recent SC judgment. Directive word and comment. Here be the must express our knowledge and understanding of the issue of the form and the overall opinion thereof. Structure of the answer. Introduction begin by the giving contact and with the reference respected to same-sex marriage and body. In the first part and write about the need and to the legalize and same-sex marriages in the country past the Navratej and Johar judgmented and equals right and improving mental health and ending stigmas and granting the protection for the true and inclusively and etc. In the next part and what write about the impediment and the legal obstacles to the legalizing same-sex marriages and its the impact on the social effort. It was throw light on the recent NSC judgment and its the implication on the queer community. Next, write about the measures and but that can be taken in the regard conclusion with other balanced opinion on the issues and introductions. In other historical move and the Navtej Johar judgment of 2018 and the discriminalize homosexualities and in India, overturning other colonial era law that has the criminalized and same-sex relationship and this the landmarks and decisions marked as a significant and step towards the recognizing the rights and the dignity of the LGBTQ and plus the community and however there is still and much progress to be made one and the crucial aspect is that the required immediately and attention is the eligibles and of same-sex marriages and this essay will be included the pressing need and for India and to extend legal recognition to same-sex marriages and touching up on the key phases such as the equals and rights and improve the mental health and ending the stigma, granting protection and the fostering true inclusively body. Judgment by the Supreme Court. All 5 judges and have the chosen to leave it to the legislator to enact the such a law. Chief Justice of India and D.Y. Chandrachud and the Justice Sanjay and Shah and Kaul has ruled that the queer couples has other right and to the seek recognitions for their the union, but it is a decline to read. छोड़ जा Decline to read above the provision. Provision of the Social Marriages Act to the effect, and on the other hand, and the justices and as the Ravindra Bhatt and Hema Kohli and the P.S. Narasimha rejected the position holding and that any the such recognizing can only be based on status in effect. The court has expected the government view and that any the move to the legalized and same-sex marriages and will the fail in the legislative domain and need to the legalize and same-sex marriages in the country. Equal rights and the dignity and legislating same-sex marriages is the fundamentally about and the upholding the principle of the equality and dignity for all the citizens and regardless of sexuals and orientations. Denying same-sex couples and the right to the marry and is other direct contradictions to the Constitution's value of justice and liberty and fraternity by the legalizing the unions, and India would take significant strides and the towards recognize and LGBTQ plus individuals and as the equals members of society and thereby the affirming and their the rights to love and the commitment, just like and they are the heterosexuals and counterparts it etc. Improving mental health and the well-being, the mental health of the LGBTQ plus individuals, particularly those in the same sex relationships, and is often legalizing same-sex marriages is other vital steps and towards the neutralizing and the more inclusively and the mentally and healthy and society and ending the stigma and the discrimination and the against LGBTQ and plus the individual, especially and those in the same-sex relationship and persist in various forms, and from the social ostracizations and to the workplaces discriminations. Legal recognitions of the same-sex marriages and other powerful messages and that the love and now know the gender and that all the citizens and regardless of the sexual orientations are the entitled to the same rights and the privileges. It is the sub as other Kate and like catalytic and for the dismantling and deeply ingrained and prejudice and the stereotypes and fostering other society and where the diversity is celebrated the rather than the feared, granting legal protections and legal recognize of the same sex marriages and provided the crucial protection for the couple and their families. It ensures access to the inheritance and rights and property rights and the spousal benefits which are the essential for the financial security and stability of LGBTQ and plus the families. Additionally, it guaranteed and legal the resources in cases of the divorce or the separation, affording same-sex couples and the same legal protection and that the here the sexual couples enjoyed. True inclusively and the social progress a society. Additionally, it guarantees and legals the records and in the cases of the divorce or separations and affording the same-sex couples the same legal protection and that the heterosexual couples and enjoy the true and the inclusively and the social program a society that embrace diversities. Diversities and inclusively and the thrives and the progress and legalizings and the same-sex marriages is other test to the India's and the commitment and to the beings other inclusive nations and that value the right and the dignity of all its the citizens and its the significant other shift towards a more progressive and forward thinking and society, one that recognizes the inherent worth of the every in the individuals and the redeem regardless of the sexual orientations. Recent judgment and the implications for the queen and the committee in including that there is no the fundamental right to the marry and the court has the negated and the explanations and that it would and not allow the discrimination against the same sex couple in the marital and the domain to continue. Marriage is indeed and social the institution and with its the our legal and requirement and the condition for what constitution was constitutes other valid marriage and the right to the six social and legal validations through the marriage is the matter of the individuals and choice protection by the constitution but the court and still the views it as the being and subjected to the statutory limitations. The majority and the disfavor and the position that the queer couples and have other right to the adopt children and but the agrees and with the minority and that there is no war on the trans persons and interings into heterosexual marriages and there is no the disagreement among the judges and about the right of the such same-sex couples and to the cohabit and be the free from the coercion and threats, giving that large section of media and maybe the opposed to the legalization of same-sex marriages and on the religious and culturings culture ground the possibilities of the parliament and taking the initiatives and to do so is the quiet belief the quiet belief the LGBTQ community plus community may now how to take hard and from the courts and directors that the government and should the forms either community to the decided the right and the entitlement of the queer couples. Conclusion. In the wake of the Navtej Johar judgment and India has taken a monumental step towards the recognizing the rights of the LGBTQ and plus individuals. However, the true equality can only be achieved and through legalization of same-sex marriages and by the doing and so India not only affirmed and the equal rights and the dignity of all the citizens and but also the improved mental health outcomes and the stigmas grant essential legal protection and the fosters a society marked and by through the inclusivity. Legalizing same-sex marriages is not the just other legal matter, it is other tactum, it is other testament and to India commitment to be to being other nation there the embraced and celebrates diversities in all its forms and it is now and up to the parliament to decide it. क्वेश्चन देख लेते हैं टॉकिंग tackling rural districts through targeted intervention and such as the employment generation and social welfare programs and can contribute to the reducing he incidence and of the child marriages examine and 250 words difficult level and moderate reference Indian by the question article highlighted the link between rural districts and the prevalence of the child marriages in India and key demand of questions to write about the cases of child marriages and measures needed to end it and directive words examine and when asked to examine and we must investigations the topic contact what's in the detail and inspect and it is the investigates and in it and established the key fact and the issues related to the topic in questions and while doing so we should explain and why the facts and the issue and are important and their the implications structure of the answer and introductions being by giving other statistics related to the incidence and of the child marriages in India body. First, write about the various लकड़ी की चीज़ नहीं आ पा रही child marriages in India, poverty, trafficking, and lack of the education and the awareness, etc. Next, mention how taking and rulers the distress and by other combination of the legalization, education, and government action can help the corrupts this the manage. Conclusion and conclude by writing other way and forwards the introductions. Rural distress in India. Rural distress in India and refers to the challenging and socio-economic condition and prevalent and in the rural areas and characterized and by the combination of the factor that adversely and affected the livelihood and well-being of the rural communities. The linkage between the rural distress and the child marriages in India is the multi-phased and the interconnected and various and socio-economics and factors associated with the rural and distress often contributed into the higher prevalences and of the child marriages understanding and thus the connections is crucial for the developing and effective interventions and to address both issues. Rural distress in India, economic challenges and the poverty in rural areas can lead to the financial stress and within the families and the circumstances parents and may see the child marriages as a way to reduce the economic burdens and by the transforming the responsibilities of the child to whether the family and other families lack of the access to the education rural distress often the result in limitation access to the quality education families facing economic hardship and may the priority the marriage of the children and over education particularly for the girls and the child marriages can be the perceived as other way to the secures the features of the child in the absence of education opportunities as insta insta security suspend traditional traditional gender roles societal norms and the traditional gender roles and the prevalent in the rural areas may the contributed to the perceptions and that the girls and should be marriage of the early and in such the contact and child marriages may be considered and families acceptables and practices reinforcing gender inequalities, impact on the generationals and poverty. Cycles and natures and child marriages can the perpetuate and the cycles of the poverty. Girls marriages of eight other young age may have the limited and the opportunity for education and the economic independence, leading to the contributed economic distress and in the subsequent and the generation, reducing the rural distress and contributing to the reduction of child marriages. Instance employment generation by creating job opportunity, thus the programs and empowered and families and economically making them more the capable of supporting the children's education and delaying their the marriages and until they are orders and better projected prepared. Skill development program equip young individuals and with the marketables and skills that enhances their chances and of the securing stable in employment. As a result, they may choose to the postpone marriage until and they are the financially stable and thereby reducing reducing the prevalences of the child marriages. An example, introducing skills the development programs tailored to the rural youth and can the enhances their the unemployability and this the could introduce and vocational training in agriculture and handicraft or the others and the local relevant skills and social the welfare programs and financial incentives and such as other scholarships conditionals and case the transfer can act as other deterrent deterrented and to the child marriages and why the promoting education families and maybe the more likes to the prioritize and the children's education and over the early marriages and they the receive and tangible benefits. Implementing targeted social welfare programs that provided the financial assistance and or the incentives of incentives of families and for keeping theirs the children in the school rather than the marry and them of the yearly. Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana and Sukanya Samriddhi account is the government of India and backed saving schemes targeted at the parents of the girl's child. The scheme encourage parents to the build other fund for the future education of their the female child. Community awareness campaigns by the fostering other deeper understanding of the harms and associated with the child marriages and the community may become more receptive and to the interventions and to the delaying marriages and this can lead to a shift in the social norms and the attitudes and the contributing to a reduction in child marriages. Conducting awareness competitions such as the Beti Padhao Beti Bachao in the rural communities and educated them about the negative consequences of the child marriages on the health and the well-being of the youth. Girls legal support and advocacy by providing and the legal resources and support and the vulnerable individuals and the especially youth girls and can be the safeguarded from forces marriages and legal the measures and can act as the deterrent and the ensures that the child marriages cases and are the addresses promptly and the effectively. Example, strengthening and legal framework and the support systems to address child and marriages issues. This could involve the stabilizing health helpline and the legal aids and services and the communities and best initiative to protect the girls of the children right of the children. A multifaceted approach that combines education and empowerment, education awareness, and legal support is the essential to the tackling rural distress and reducing the incidences of the child marriages in India, while the addressing the root causes and the providing holistic interventions of the communities and can work towards creating a more sustainable and the equitable futures for their youth. India should play the more active role in the conflict resolutions across the world and by the promoting tolerant inclusively and the non-violence discussed to 50 words. Reference. Indian Express Inside on India. Why the questions? The article discussed the need of the India and to the visions are the new approach to the peace, and it is the emphasis on that the achieving peace required moving beyond traditional method in enhancing embracing dialogues and diplomacies and the soft power to address the global conflict and key demand of the questions on to rights about the importance of India promoting tolerances inclusively and the non-violence to the two non-violence in India in today words directive words discuss. This is an all and the encompassing directives. You must debates and on the paper by going through he detail of the issues and concern by the examine each one of them and you must give the reasons for both for and against arguments and structure of the answer introduction. Start by giving contact body. First write about the how India has been other plurals and the entity and rights since the against and medieval times cites example to the sustainability next white about high India about how India tolerated inclusively and non-violence have saved the nations and provided the society and with solidarity in diversities and India can the achieve this the leaderships and positions by promoting the same for conflict and resolution across the world and conclude by writing a way forward introductions. India with its rich and history and diverse culture heritage has long been a the proponent of the pluralism and tolerant the inclusively and the non-violence. Thus, the value are deeply ingrained in its the ancient and the medieval history, making it the uniquely positioned and to play the more active role in conflict resolution on the global stage and from the Ashoka's Dhammas to the Gandhiji Ahimsas and non. Ahimsas and our the motto of the Vasudevayas and the Kutumbakam. And India is poised for becoming the leaders in conflict the resolution and promoting peace and the non-violence body. India pluralist values. Melting pot. 4. From the times of the Mauryans and the Gupta's empire to the Mughals era and various the faith and the traditional found acceptance and flourished within the subcontinent and this the historicals precedent and serves as other strong foundation for India to the advocate for tolerance and the inclusively and the contemporary and the conflict resolution effort cultural synthesis and the bhakti and the Sufi movement and were the integral in the fostering religious and harmony and the inclusively bhakti sant and advocated for other direct persons and relationships and with other divine the irrespective of the caste or the crisis. Similarly, Sufi and mystics and emphasis the universities of spiritual experience and the transcendings and religion boundaries. Struggle of freedom. India won struggles for the independence under the leadership of the Mahatma Gandhi and the exemplified the power of the non-violence as other means to the achieve social and the political changes. This legacy of the non-violence resistance continued to the inspire movement worldwide by activities promoting thus the principles, and India can serve as other beacon of hope and the models for the resolving the conflict without the resorting to violence. Silk Road and Spice Road. India positions as other crossroad of the unsigned trade routes and facilitated the culture exchanges and with the diverse civilization. This the exchange of goods and the ideas contribution to the culture most basic of the subcontinent. Challenges. Criticism argues and the India domestic challenges includingly religious tensions and internal conflict and may the hinder its the ability to the effectively engage in global conflict resolution effort. India geopolitical position and alliance and may also the impact it is the role in the conflict resolution as the member of the international forums like the United Nations, and India must navigate some complex the diplomatic relationships and with the various countries, striking a balance between its the interested and the pursuit of global peace is a the delicate task. Conclusion. To play a the more active role in the global is in global conflict resolution, India must the leverages and it is the historical legal of the tolerant, inclusively and non-violences by the promoting. Thus, value on the world stage, India can inspired and positive change and contribute to the peaceful resolutions of conflict. It is the imperative for India to the simultaneously and address its the internal challenges and the worked towards establishing and itself as other credible ultimately and fostering a more peaceful and inclusively world. Examine the reason behind the demand for the reservations by the dominant communities in India and the implications of the such reservations in the context of changing societal and the economically dynamics to 51 difficulties level thorough. Reference Indian Express sign on India why the questions the discuss and the issues of reservations for the Marathas community in the government job in India. Key demands of the questions to write about the cases for the demands for the reservations by the dominated community and its the impact directive words. Examine when asked to the examine and be must investigated the topic contact words in detail inspect and it the investigates and the established the key facts and the issues related to the topic in question, and while doing so be should explain and why thus the facts in the issues are the important and their the implications. Structure of the answer. Begin by the giving context and body. First, the write about the various historical, economically, and politically factors that fueled and the demand for the reservation by the dominant communities in India. Next, write about the impact of the above resources allocation, social harmony, and the economically efficiency and etc. Conclusion. Conclude by the writing the forwards to strict balances and between addressing historical injustice and the promoting affairs and the competitive society. Introduction. The demand for the reservations by the dominated communities in India is other complex issues and that the arise from the various historical, social and the political factors and dominate communities often reference to other words and or the upper castes have showed reservation in education and in employment. In employment to address the perceived and grievances and to ensure equitable access to opportunity, body contact, and the background. Legally of the caste-based discrimination, India has other deeply entrenched and caste system, and that the historicals lead to the discrimination and many marginalizations of the certain community, and especially and those the considered lower caste, and the reservation policy was initially introduced to the uplift thus marginalized group and social justice and inclusion. The reservation policy was the envisioned and as other means and to the restified historicals and disadvantage group. Reason for demand on the reservation by the dominated community: education, economic disparities and over times, and some dominated and communities have the argued and that the economic and disparities exist, and within theirs the rank and factors such as the declines and agricultural opportunity, lack of the access and to the quality and education, and the urban rural divides and have the contributed to this the perceptions. An example: in state like Tamil Nadu, dominated community like the Baniyas and has the raised concern about the economic disparities within their community, and they the argues and that the despite being classified as other forward caste are the significant and portions of the community and still face the economic challenges, and particularly in rural areas and where the agriculture opportunities are limited. Education competitions, and with the increasing competitions for the limited seats in educations and institution and job opportunities, and dominated communities may feel the disadvantage, and especially in the sectors and there the reservation are prevent, e.g. in states and where the reservation are the prevalent, and like the Maharashtra, dominant communities such as the Marathas and has the expressed and concern about the increased and competitions for the seats in educationals and institutions. Political representation: dominant communities and may seek the political representation in legislative and local bodies argued, and that they are the voice and are not the adequately and represented, particularly in resign where they form other significant portion of the population, and implication of the reservation in the context of dominant caste social cohesion and equity. Reservation has played a crucial role in the promoting social justice and the inclusively, and by the providing historically and the marginalized and group with the access to educate in employment and political representation. But dominant caste reservation may go against the very idea of the reservations and for the marginalized and communities, and it may the create and the fault lines in the society and based on the caste, while we are the striving for the cohesion and quite equality. Redistribution of the opportunities, and the reservations aims to the redistributes and the opportunity, but they can also lead to the increase in competition among the various groups. And potential leading to the tensions and conflict and challenges to the meritocracy and crisis, and argues that the reservations and may the sometimes conflict and with the principle of the meritocracy, and as the candidate from the reserved and the categories and may the secure positions and with the lower test and scores and compared to the unreserved condition, economically productivity and growth. There are the concern that the reservation might not the always and align with the economic and efficiency and in the certain sectors. It could impact the productivity and growth. There is significant brain and drain happening from the countries, and due to the reservation system, the breadth of the 15% is the against constitutions. Need for cohesive policies. It is important to the supplemented reservation policies and with the borders socio economically development initiative to address the underlying issues of poverty, education and healthcare there the affect all the communities and reservations cannot go on the end directly, and the government and the judiciaries and must the ensure there the uplifting and pupils must be done by other supports and measures so that the most marginalized benefits from the affirmative action. Conclusion: as the societies and the economics dynamics and evolve it is and the imperative to the revolute and the adapt reservations policies and to the ensure that they the country continued to serve and their the intended and the purposes of promoting social justice and inclusively, and while also the considering the changing needs and the aspirations of all the communities in India, and balancing the interests of various groups in the complex challenges, and that the required and the thoughtful policies and making and the commitment to the fostering and the exclusives and the equitable society. Important geophysical phenomena such as the earthquake and tsunami, volcanic activities, and water stress is other significant challenges faced by the many countries and including India, and the addressing it is the required either comprehensive and approach analysis to 50 was difficulties level easy reference down to earth insights on India by the questions and about the half of the world and children's 953 millions and where the exposed too high or the extremely high water in 2021 according to the new and the UNICEF report. Key demand of the question and to write about the missiles and needed to the overcomes and water strength in the country and directive words and analysis. When asked to the analysis, and you must examine the methodologically and the structure or the nature of the topic by the separating it into component parts and the present them in other summary and structure of the answer introductions. Begin by defining and giving the status of the water strength in India and cites the statistics of show the level of the water stress in the country body. First, write about the impact of the water stress on the quantitatives and as well as the quantitative aspects of the fresh water and how it will impact. As next, write about the urgent step and that are the needed to make the sustainable water practices planning. Regulars of the groundwater uses regenerations of the catchmented area, sustainable agriculture and equ for recharge and rainwaters and harvesting and technologies to monitor progress and communities and participations and the rejuvenating exciting water bodies and etc. Conclusion with other way forward introductions. Water stress and occurs the when the demand and for the water exceeds the available amount and during other certain period, or the when poor quality is restricted it is used, and when the per capita and availability of the water is below and 1700 meter 3 by year, and water availability is done as the stress and about the half of the world and children's and 953 millions, and were the exposed to high or the extremely high water stress in 2022, and according to the new UNICEF report body 54% of India faced high to the extreme high water. Water stress and causes and deteriorations and of the fresh water resources in terms of the quantities and as well as the qualities. India has 4% of the world fresh water, and which has to the caters to the 17% of the world population, approximately 600 million people or the toughly, and around the 45% of the population in India is facing high to the severed and water stage as per the report, and 21 Indian and cities and will run out of their the main sources of water and IGN groundwater by the 2020, and nearly 40% of the population will have the absolutely and no access to the drinking water, and by the 2030, and 6% of the India and GDP will be the lowest, and by the 250, and due to the water crisis as per Niti Aayog and reported and CWMIN released in the June 2019, and India is facing the worst and ever water and crisis in history, and either disastrous water crisis and has been the creeping up on us for year water tables and have the decline and the prosperities, and even by the thousands of the feet in some parts of the Punjab, Haryana and the Andhra Pradesh, and task and the well have gone dry, and some the rivers and have the shrunk, and while the others smaller and ones have the completely dried up, and water the rationing and is the routine in many the urban areas, and white in many villages, and women are the truggings and the longest distances into the fish water. A recent report and mentioned that the over 70% of surface irrigations water is being the supplied and wasted nationally, and not only the farmers are affected by the water crisis, and urban dwellers in the cities and the town across the India are also facing other never seen and before the drinking water scarcities. In India, there are the conflict and between the Karnataka and Tamil Nadu over sharings of the Kuvri waters between the Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh over sharing of the Narmada and waters, and between the Andhra Pradesh and Telangana over sharing of the Krishna's water, etc. Misses to the overcomes and water strength in the country. Seeing India and looming water crisis and through the locus of the urban and the rural not only the allow the better grasp of the causes and factors, and but also the enables a stronger grip on the strategics and to be the deployed to the rivers the water crisis and urban water resources and management. Groundwater management is of utmost importance, and in the urban areas and where the 50% water is the drawn and from the ground, and encroachment of the flood flood plants and groundwaters and recharge are areas to the worked hard with. Loss of green covers in the urban areas and heat the island and affected are the reasons for the depleting waters and sources. Urban forest needs to be the created and like other area Mumbai. The Ministry of Water Resources and must the reconfigures and it is the relationships and with the other ministries and department. Urban development, local self government and the environment, and enhance integration and the coordinations are the needed through the effectively land and the water and zoning regulations, and that the protect urban water bodies and groundwater sources, wetlands and green cover while and the stimulatively and workings to the enhances wastewater recycling and the water recharge and activities and targeting the aquifers and the well through rainwater harvesting. Rural water resources management, water and food security at the sectoral level, the ministries and the department of the water resources and must the coordinate and effort with their the counterparts in the agriculture, the environment, and rural development of for greatest convergence to the chips and water and the food security. And water guzzlers and crops like the paddy and wheat in the Punjab have the turned the soil saline and the depleted and groundwaters. Whole of the government and the approach it the disciplinaries and levers government and the management should the increasingly interact and draw from the expertise and of the field such as the hydrology and water seed and the sustainability and hydrogeology and the aquifer and the mapping and recharge and agriculture sciences and water sensitive crop and choose and the soil's health surface water management again the important giving to the groundwaters and the conservation should not ignore and surface water conservation including the many rivers and the lake which which are in other criticals and the dying state and due to the encroachments and pollutions and over the obstructions and the obstructions of the water flow by the dams. Way forward. Effective land and the water zonings regulations and which regulation would protect and urban the water bodies and groundwaters and sources of wetlands and green covers. Enhancing wastewater recycling and the water resources and activities and targeting the aquifers and well through the rainwater and harvesting. Governance and management should increasingly and interact and grow and draw from the expertisings of the field and such as the hydrology and the water sheet sustainability and hydrologically and aquifers mapping and recharge and agricultural sciences and water sensitive crops and choice and the soil health the important giving to the groundwater. The groundwater conservation should not the ignore surface water and conservation including the rivers and lakes and which are in other crucial state and due to the encroachment and the pollutions. The Ministry of the Jal Shakti and the must and focus on the protecting and the conserving water resources on the one hand and the minimizing and the enhancing efficiency of water usage on the others. Volcanic activities and question volcanic activities a crucial role in shaping the world surface and contributing to the geological process. However, it is the impact on the environmentals and humans activities can be both beneficial is detrimental analysis difficulties level moderate and reference Indian expressed by the questions and data from the smooth and institution global volcanism and program suggested that the 56 volcanoes and eruption in the first and 6 months of the 2023 in November 2023 and shifting other magma under the earth crust and the trigenerated hundred of earthquakes and around the towns of the Grindavik in Iceland and with the seismologist and warmings the quakes and could be the precursors and two other volcanic eruptions. To write about the impact of the volcanic eruption and associated activities. Directive analysis and when asked to the analysis you must examine the methodologically the structure or the nature of the topic by the separating into the componented part and the presented them in other summary structure of the answer introduction begin by other giving contact body. First, write about environment effect of the volcanization, emission of the gases and the aerosols, formations of volcanic asa and the tephra and creation of volcanic landforms and impact on the climate and the weathers, pattern destructions of vegetations and the habitats, and introduction of new species, formation of new ecosystem, etc. Next, write about the affected on the human activities, threats to the human health, agricultural impact, economically consequences and disruptions of transportation and infrastructure, etc. Conclusion. Conclude by the mentioning ways to the deal with above. Introductions. A volcano is the ruptures in the crust of other planetary mass objects such as the earth, and that the allow hot lavas, volcanic ash and the gases to the escape from other magma chambers and the below the surface. The process is called the volcanism and has been ongoing on the earth since and the initial stages of its evolution and over the 4 billion years ago. Data from the Smithsonian institutions and global volcanism and programs and suggested that the 56 volcanoes and eruption in the first 6 months of the 2023 and in the November 2023, shifting the magmas under the earth crust and triggered and hundreds of earthquakes and around the towns of Grinda, Wicks and in the Iceland, and with the seismologist and warmings. The quakes could be other precursions and to the volcanic eruption body. Volcanic landforms are the divided into the in extrusives and the installations. Intrusive and the landform based on the weathers and magmas and cool with the crust and or the above the crust and rock the formed by the either plutonic cooling of the magma within the crust or the volcanic cooling of lavas and above the surface are called the igneous rock body. Extrusive volcanic landforms. Thus are formed from the material and throughout the during volcanic activities the materials and throughout the during volcanic activities includes and lava flows, the pyroclastics and the debris, volcanic bombs and ash and the dust and gases such as the nitrogen compounds and sulfur compounds and minors and amount of the chlorines, hydrogens and organs and conical vent is the narrow cylindrical vent and through them which magma and flow out the violently and conical vent and are the common in the andesitics and composite or the stratovolcano volcanizations of figures of fissure vents and also the known as other volcanic fissures and or the eruptions and fissures is other narrow and linear volcanic vent and through the which lava and erupts and usually without and the exclusively activities and the vent is often other few meters and wide and maybe many the kilometers and long. The figures and vent are the common in the basaltic volcanism composite cone on the stratovolcano. They are conicals or the central types of conicals roof landforms. Along with andesites and lavas, large quantities of the pyroclastics material and the acids find their way to the ground. They are accumulated in the vicinity of the vent openings and leading to formation of the layers, and this the makes the mounts appears as composite volcanoes. The highest and most common volcanoes have the composite cones and examples Vesuvius and Empty, the Fuji and Stromboli and lighthouses of the terrains, etc. Shield volcanoes or lavas. Thus, volcanoes are made up of basalt, a type of the lavas, and that is the very flood and bear when and the erupted, and they are not steep. They become explosive if the somehow and water gets into the vent and the otherwise, and they are less explosive. Example: Muna Loa and Hawaii, lava and plain and the basalt and the plateaus, and sometimes other very thin and magmas and escapes through the cracks and the fissures and in the earth's surfaces and flow after the interval and for other long time separating over other vast areas. Finally, the producing other layered in undulating and ways like flat surface. Example: the Contrave and Peninsular India and Snake Basin. USA, Icelandic and the seed and Canadian seed, etc. Cylinder cone, tephra and cones. Cylinder cone are small volumes and cone consisting and predominant of the tephra and that the result and from the Strombolian eruptions, and they the usually consist of basaltic to the andesitic material. Caldera, and after the eruption of the magmas has the seized and from the cones, the craters and frequently turns and into other lake at other later times. Water may collects in the craters. In the crater, this lake is called other caldera. Caldera example: Lake Tova in the Sumatra and crater lake in the Oregon, USA. Mid-oceans and ridges. Thus, volcanoes and occurs in the oceanic areas, and there is other system of the mid-ocean and ridge more than the 17,000 kilometer long that the stretches and through all the oceans and basins. The central portions of this the ridge and experiences and frequent and eruptions. The lava is basaltic in nature, cools slowly, and the flows through the longest distance. The lava here is responsible for sea floors and spendings. Example: Mid-Atlantic Ocean ridge and extensions is seen in the Iceland. Volcanics and landforms. Intrusive landforms are formed when the magma cools and within the crust. The intrusive and activities of the volcanoes and gives rise to the various form and batholiths. Batholiths thus are the hug mass of the igneous and rocks and usually of granites. Thus rocks mass is formed and due to the cooling down and solidification of hot magmas and inside the earth, and they appear on the surface only the after the denudations and process remove the overlying materials and may be the exposed on the surface after the erosion. Example: Wicklow and mountains of the Ireland and the uplanded of the Brittany and France, and laccoliths. And there are the large dam of the shaped intrusive and bodies connected by other pipes like the condal of for the valve, and there are the basically instrument and counterpart of and the opposed and dome likes the batholith. Example: Laccolith of the Henry and Mountain in the Utah, USA, and Lopolith. As and when the lava moves the upwards, either portion of the same maze tend to move in other horizontal directions, and whenever it is find either weak plans in case and it's the develop and into other shapes and shape the concepts to the sky body, and it is called the lipolith. And example: The bush belt and the litholit of the Transvaals and the South Africa and Phacolith. The baby mass of the intrusive rocks and at the times in founded at the base of the Silines or at the top of the anticline and in the founded igneous country. Such baby and the materials and have other definite and conduits to the sources beneath in the forms of the magmas and chambers subsequently and developed as the both batholith and there are called the patholith. Example: Corndon Hill in the Shropshire, England, and Shields. There are solidified horizontal lava layers and inside the earth and the near horizontal bodies of the intrusive igneous rock are called the seal or sheets depending on the thickness of the material and the thickener ones and are the cold and the sheets and while the thick horizontal deposits are called seals. Example: Great Bin Steels and of NE and England. Dikes. When the lava makes When the lava mix it is the way through the crease and the fissures and developed in the land and it is the solidified and the atmosphere almost and perpendicular and to the ground and it gets the cool in the same positions to the developed other bell like structures such the structure are called the dikes and there are the most commonly found in intrusive forms in the western Maharashtra area and there are the considered the feeders for the eruption that led to the development of the Deccan traps and the Cleveland dikes of the Yorkshire and England. Impact on the religion environment. Volcanism and can be the greatly damaging and the natural disaster habitat and the landscapes are the destroyed by the lava flows and violent earthquakes and associated with the volcanic activities and mud flow of the volcanic ash and saturated and by the heavy rain can the bury nearby place and sometimes as can the precipitate and under the conflict in influences of the rain and the completely cover the surrounding regions. Deterioration of water quantity and favors the period of the rain and crops the damages and the destructions of the vegetations. In coastal areas, the seismic and sea waves called the tsunamis are and the additional dangers and which are generated by the submarine earth and fault where the volcanics is active. Volcanic rocks and yield very the fertile and soil the upon the weathering and the decompositions. Although the steeps and volcano slopes prevent expensive agriculture, forestry, and operations on them, the provided valuables in the timbers resources. Minerals and resources and particularly metallic ores are brought to the surface by the volcanoes and the sometimes copper and others ores fill the gas and bubble and capabilities the frame and kimber tiles rock of the South Africa and source of the demand is the pipe of and the unsigned volcano. Impact on the human activities. Volcano activities and the formation of volcanic landscapes and can have the both positions and a negative impact on human sustainable and economic development while they can be inhospitable and the hazardous to human habitations and they can also provide opportunities for economically development. For example, volcanic ash and the rock fragmented fragments and can be can be used for the construction and road building and volcanic landscapes and often have the unique biodiversities which can be the utilized then for the tourism and recreations. Volcanic landscapes and can also the contain and the geothermal resources which can be used for the power generation and other the forms of the economic development. Volcanic eruption can the cause significant damages to the infrastructures agriculture and human health and can lead to the displacement of the population. Additionally the refuse and the terror and harsh climates of the volcanic landscapes can make it the difficult for the people to settle in thus the regions. Conclusion: volcanoes have a hug impact on the man and the material and as urbanizations and the globalization increase the effect or have the impact on the flora, fauna and the global warming which can acceleration the climate changes. Question. But defines and the earthquakes and swarm illustrates the recent occurrence of and the earthquake swarm and in Iceland. But define and the earthquake swarm and include the recent occurrence of an earthquake swarm in Iceland and located on the mid-Atlantic range, 10 minute, 10 meters. Reference Indian Express and why the question and thousands of the earthquakes. Earthquakes are shaking and Iceland and raising the concern of and the immediate volcanic eruptions. Key demand of the question explain the concern of the earthquakes and swarm and the explain it is the occurs. In the occurs in the context of the Iceland Directive. Elucidated means to explain or the clarified and either contact or ideas. In a clean and the detailed and manners and structure of the answer introductions. Define the earthquake swarm body. Discuss the contact. Discuss the concept in general. Earthquake in swarm are other sequences of the mostly small earthquakes with no the identifiables and man the shock. Swarms are usually short-lived and but they can the continue for the days and weeks or sometimes even the month and they are the many times to subtables and for the pupils to notice the however and it is the important to note that they are not the aftershocks and with the happened and after either large man shock and next the explain it is the occurrence in Iceland and the recent earthquake swarm and in the Iceland situations on the mid-Atlantic ridge and is other series of the nuclear earthquakes indicating potentials and volcanic activities due to the movement of magma beneath the earth surface and the draw the diagrams of to illustration you are answered. Conclusion with the need to understand and the take measures to overcome and there the impact introductions. Introduction. Earthquake swarm are other series of the low magnitude earthquake and that occurrence in other localist and regions and over the period of time ranging from the days and weeks to the even months and when the seismic energies and piles up the insides the earth and is released and in a small amount from the certain point and such other series of the earthquakes and can occur. Body background. A state of energy emergency has been and declared in Iceland after a swarm of 800 earthquakes rocks the Iceland country and southwestern rock chains and peninsula in under 14 hours on the Friday, November 10, around 1400 earthquakes and were the missed in the previous 24 hours and over the 24 thousands have been recorded in the peninsula since late October. The most powerful of the quakes and had other magnitudes of 5.2 and hit about the 40 kilometers from the Reykjavik Iceland capitals on Friday. Earthquake swarms are the generally defined and as other sequence of seismic events and closely clustered in time and space without other singles and outstanding shocks. There are differential and from the earthquake succeeded by other series of aftershocks and burn the seismic energy and piles. piles up inside the earth and is essential in small amount and from the certain point, and such a the series of earthquakes and can occur the sometime, and thus the rumblings of the earth are also the compliant and by the acoustics and or the sound emissions. The situation cannot be taken and lightly as the many earthquakes have been processed and by the earthquake swarm and activities. A geological survey of India GSI in 2003 and found that such activities and was the observed at the 30 places in the regions, and even though the Deccan Plateau is not and the earthquakes prone zone, but the earthquake swarm are not limited to the peninsula. In 2016, a series of the 58 earthquakes were the recorded and in the Rampur areas of the Himachal Pradesh, and this the Himalayas and swarm and was attributed to the low strength of the earth crust in the areas and which could not hold the tectonic energy, and the situation cannot be taken and lightly as many major earthquakes in the region have been the processed by the earthquake swarm activities to such instance where the Lechar and Koina earthquakes in 1993 and the 1967 respectively causes more the four earthquake swarm in Iceland. Iceland is located on the mid-Atlantic ridge and technologically is the longest mountain ranges in the world, and but on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean the ridge is separated the Eurasians and North American tectonic plates and making it other hotbed of seismic activities. Other the causes for earthquake swarms. Earthquake swarms and can occur through the process of the reservoirs and includes and the seismicities and when large amount of the seismic energy and get the concentrated in other small areas due the weight of the large structure of the water and that it hold and hydroseismicity and water from the heavy rainfalls and enter the small fractures and in the rock creating pressure between them, and with the every 10 meter rise in the groundwaters and force the pressures increase by the 1 bars, and this pressure is released in the form of earthquake swarm and are the observed in volcanic environments and hydrothermal systems and others the active geothermal areas, and according to the geophysicists and in India and the sequences of low intensity quakes are the common in areas and that have been hit previously like the Sureshtra in the Gujarat and the Koina in Maharashtra, and but they are also seen in areas and without other history of the seismic activities. Conclusion: in other words, and the swarm are the earthquakes event themselves, and but of the very lowest magnitudes, whereas the four shocks and after shocks are and the effect of the earthquakes event they have the Q effect revelations. Silence features of the world physical geography. El Nino's warmings of the Pacific waters and disruptions, global weathers and patterns, the leading to other range of climates impact and various in extremes, and whether the event and worldwide explains to 50%. Difficulties labeled easy reference down to the earth and why the questions and several peoples in greater horn of the Africa and are feared and did the property worth and millions destroyed and the populations displaced due to the heavy rainfall in the region, and key demand of the question to write about the El Nino's phenomenons and its the impact on the world climates and including the Indian monsoons. Directive words explain clarity and the topics why the giving other details occurs as to how and how it's occurred or what is the context, and you must be the defining key terms and whatevers and appropriated and the substantiates them with the relevant associated fact. Structure of the answer. Introduction. Start by the providing other brief overviews of the El Ninos and its occurrence and body in the first parts. Explain the El Ninos and phenomenon, its the definitions and causes and the science behind it. Next, discuss the impact of the El Ninos on the global climate changes in temperature and weather, the patterns and the occurrence of natural disasters such as the flood and the drought and cites an example to the sustainable. Next, elaborates and on the impact of El Ninos on the Indian monsoon season and changes in the rainfalls patterns, temperatures and the overall effect on the agriculture sectors and side example to the sustainability. Conclusion. By the summarizing and introduction, El Nino is other naturally occurring phenomenon that is the links to other periodically warmings in the sea surfaces temperature across the central and the east central equatorial Pacific. El Nino is the Spanish and for the boy child and which is often and used to refers to the Jesus Christ and the phenomenon yearned and this the name because it is the typically occurrence in the December around Christmas. El Ninos and every 2 to 7 years and can last anywhere between 9 months and 2 years. Body mechanism. And during El Nino the trade and winds and beacons or the even reverse. Instead of blowing the from the east South America and to west the Indonesia and they could and turn into the westerlies and as the wind blow and from the west and to east they could the masses of the warmth and water to the move and into the central and the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean. The rise in SSTS and theirs thus produced increased rainfalls along Western Latin America and the Caribbean and US Gulf Coast and while the debris buying Southeast Asia, Australia and India of the convective currents. The causes of El Nino are the two opposite phases in El Nino and the La Nino and required the certain changes in both the oceans and the atmospheres because and so is other coupled and climate phenomenons and neutrals and is in the middle of the continuum neutral phase. In the neutral state, neither El Nino and nor the La Nino and trade binds the below and east to the west across the surface of the tropical Pacific Oceans and brings the warmth and most airs and the warmer surface water towards the western Pacific and keeping the central Pacific Ocean relatively cool. The thermos lines in differs in the best than and the east and this the mean that the under normal conditions the eastern tropical Pacific is 8 to the 10 degrees Celsius warmer and then the eastern tropical Pacific and this the warmer and areas of the ocean is other source for the conventions and is the associated with the cloudliness and the rainfall. El Nino. The trade winds and put warm waters on the surface of the oceans and from the east to the west and westerly and this causes and the water warms water to vault up built up on the western side of the oceans and near Asia. Meanwhile, on the earth in eastern and side of the ocean and near the central and the southern America and cold waters are pushed up the towards the surface. Because of this and there is other difference in temperature across the equatorial Pacific and with the warmth and water to the west and the cold water to the east. The warmth water in the west and heat and the air making the warm airs and the rise and the leading to the drastic weather including the rain and the storms. The rising swarms and air the causes other circumstances between the east and the west in the Pacific and with the warmth most air risings in the west and cool dry air descendings in the east. All of these natural occurrences lead to a reinforcement of the easterly wind and causes other self-perpetuating motions in the airs and in the Pacific impact. El Nino impact on the Indian monsoons. El Nino characterized by the warming of surface temperature in the Pacific Ocean is associated with the lower than the normal monsoon rainfall in India. El Nino has been found to impact the almost half of the world and triggering triggering droughts in Australia, India, South Africa, and flood in Peru, Ecuador, the United States, the Gulf of the Mexico, and the Colorado Rivers Basin. El Nino affected the flow of the moisture bearings and winds from the cooler oceans and towards India negatively impacted the summer's southwest monsoon. After all, the southwest monsoon and June-September account and for the over 70% of the country's annual rainfall and the irrigations and over half of the crops and the rain fed and kharif crops and are the heavily dependent on the monsoon and the quantities of the rainfall determines agriculture productions. El Nino years and tend to the drier and then the averages, but one of the strongest El Nino of the country in 1997 and 1998 and produced the monsoon season with above averages and rainfall for India. Researchers and also believed that even the location of the warming in the Pacific and may possibilities have other influences on the monsoon. Disasters. Heat waves in India and leading to the death of pupils and fauna and water resources dry up leading to the increase the distress and migrations and climate refugees in economic impact. India is the second biggest grower of the wheat, rice, sugar, and cottons, and are the target and the largest buyers of plums and soya beans and sunflower oils. The livelihood of millions of farmers in the country, about 1.4 billion pupils, and dependent on the rain and brought by the wind from the Indian Ocean. The farm fact is the main sources of income for 60% of its the population and occurs for the 18% of the economic, and the monsoon is critical to the India's farms output and economically growth at other time and when the country and where man-made and systems and likes the canals and tubes and well the irrigation only the part of the land is building shoring food process and timely and normal rain are set to the boost productions and outlooks for the monsoon storms and crops such as the rice, soybeans, and pulse and help in the softings, shoring inflammations. Bountiful rain and would also fill the reservoirs and which in the tons and would brighten prospect for the winter's crop usually the planted during the October and November yearly arrivals of the southwest monsoon comes at the when part of the northwest India and were experiencing extremely high maximum temperature. Social impact. A WHO paper said that the El Nino 2015 and 16 is affected more than the 60 million people, rising temperature and more variables and rainfall. The pattern can often reduce the crops and yield, compromising and food security. This can lead to the social unrest and civil war, increase the inequalities between peoples. El Nino condition can cause other wide range of health problems and including the diseases outbreaks and malnutrition and heat the strength and respiratory and diseases. Environmental effect on aquatic species and seabirds and fish either migrates to other the region or die during El Nino and because they lack adequate food for growth and survival. Way forward and conclusion. The government must expanded the farm's insurance and covers the advice bank and financial institutions to settled crops insurance and claim in the drought and hit areas without laying without delay and high quality seed of the alternatives and crops must be the distributed and among the farmers in the drought and affected area and technologies like the drip and the sprinklers and the irrigations precision agricultures and monetary controllers measures to tackle the inflammatories and trends in country. Financial support from the global organizations for a rehabilitations and the rebuildings and disaster response and forecast to and tackles the flood and the droughts and developing early warming systems and alerting the pupils much in the advanced global cooperations to tackle the climate changes and which can the further aggregates and El Nino and the La Nino conditions. Thank you guys. Bye bye. This season will be closed and GS paper once November 2023 will be closed. So thank you guys. Bye.